Righto, I am relying on some natural lighting conditions, so it won't be a consistent look throughout, but hopefully we can all make do with that. A few months ago, I was invited to visit the ILFORD Film Factory in Knutsford, which is somewhere in Cheshire, and I was lucky enough to be invited to attend with a +1, so I took Julia, who filmed all the factory footage that you'll be seeing in this video, so well done, Julia. We rented a car for the Sunday to kick off our relaxing stay in Cheshire East for 2 nights before taking a morning drive to the factory on the Tuesday morning. This was the most peaceful getaway that we'd experienced in definitely in years. And if you're interested in the stuff that we did, Julia vlogged about it, so I'll put that link in the description down below. She has the details about the Airbnb, all the stuff that we did leading up to our visit to the Ilford factory, so feel free to check that out if that's something that you might be interested in. As I said, things kicked off on Tuesday morning, mid-June, with Julia and I arriving right on time to the minute, which for both of our standards is a minute too late, so we do apologize to all our friends about that, those that were there. After an introduction to our hosts Michelle and Hannah, we made our way to the emulsion making, touched some squidgy stuff. We learned all about emulsion, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the stuff that the vegans have an issue with regarding to film photography, because its composition includes gelatin, which is what holds the silver halide in place, and the silver halide is what I guess catches the light on the film. We learned that washing water is a thing. I didn't know that water could be washed. It does make sense chemically, but it sounds kind of funny, and my brother is probably rolling his eyes. If he's watching this, he's a metallurgist, which is a type of chemistry. We were then shown the film rolls, which are the basis of the film. Those rolls will be coated with the emulsion, if I'm not mistaken, and Julia was quite entertained to find that these were sourced from Germany because she's German. We went on to receive an explanation of the coating process and the coating machine, which I can't remember all the details, but it's segments upon segments and rooms upon rooms and makes up the length of like 500 meters or something like that. That might be the wrong number, but I think I remember 500 meters. And this process results in the base being coated with a non-stress layer, a wetting agent layer, and then the emulsion layer, all of which sit discreetly on top of one another. They don't mix, they sit. And all of this is monitored via a control room of engineers and technicians. I can't remember if it's many control rooms, but they ensure that this process is running with no issue. Once the rolls have been coated, not only are they checked on the day, but they're also quality checked a week later to ensure that everything is as it should be. The film is visually inspected at a vertical and also horizontal angle, and they look for what I believe they're called repeat marks. So if anything is stuck on the roll or something like that, they inspect their samples after that, also on a light table. We walked past the warehouse that ships to all over the world, and then we went into the part of the factory where the film stocks are rolled and packaged, which was so much fun. I have no idea what was happening. I was too excited to actually pay attention to the details, so I can't really speak much to it, but luckily Julia was on top of things, getting some rad shots. So I think we'll have to make do with showing rather than telling, and you can watch some cool shots of films being rolled and packaged. We also went into parts of the factory where the sheet film is packaged, and we couldn't take our phones, but trust me when I say it was dark in there. It was pretty rad to see the people smiling when they saw us, and I understand that I just said that it was super dark in there, but your eyes do kind of acclimate. So after which we could see the packaging, which is done by humans, and if I'm not mistaken, from what I could see, they were all super friendly and welcoming, even though they were packaging things in the dark. And we ended our tour with a visit to the development, scanning and printing offices. We saw a bunch of art, including a huge print by Lee Jeffries, which I recognized immediately. It was a massive one on one of their walls. I think it was in the scanning room or maybe a printing room. This was an overall educational and very fun excursion. I'd like to thank Hannah and Michelle from Ilford Photo for being so welcoming and for having conversations with us and answering our questions. It was an eye-opening experience for both Julia and myself. I didn't realize how much of this manufacturing process is still so human dependent, and almost nothing is fully automated. It's what I would call semi-automated, because you do need human intervention for constant quality control and for all the in-between processes. I hope I'm explaining that properly. I'd like to thank Ilford Photo. I can't think of a more appropriate way to end the video off with some of my favorite images that I've made with Ilford Photo's film, some of which my channel viewers might have already seen and some of which I have yet to share. And for those of you that aren't aware of my exploration of film photography, this started about half a year ago. I was primarily a digital photographer before then, and the dabbling in film has been enlightening. I can now kind of restore old cameras, or at least I'm finding old cheap cameras and learning how to understand the shutter mechanisms, taking things apart, putting them back together, and making photos with these restored cameras. I'm having a blast and I'm enjoying incorporating this medium to my overall photography scope. To those of you considering dipping your toes in black and white film photography, I cannot recommend Kentmere Pan 400 more as a beginner film. It's one of the more affordable films and isn't too hard on the shadows, making it kind of the closest thing to a raw digital image that I have shot with. There's a lot of room to explore contrast editing with the tone curve in whatever software you choose to process your developed negative with. So let's leave it there. Thank you again to Ilford Photo. Thank you to Hannah and Michelle, and thank you to my new friends that I made during the tour, Ian, James and Constantine. And as always, thank you to Julia for being my +1, for filming, and for asking all the smart questions that I didn't think to ask during the tour. And thank you to all of you for watching to the end. Feel free to check out my first go at Kentmere Pan 400. I'll put that video here if you want to know more about the time that we had in Cheshire, eating goose eggs and whatnot. Check out Julia's video. I'll link that in the description below. I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.